This show is part of OnePlace, a daily network of focused briefings across the stories people follow most.
Welcome to our daily crime and justice update. We have a heavy lineup today, covering everything from tragic family losses to shocking public safety incidents. Let's get right into the headlines.
A stepbrother faces adult charges for a cheerleader's murder.
A FedEx driver's chilling jailhouse apology letter is revealed.
Police shoot a woman kidnapping a child at Walmart.
A daughter testifies about planning her husband's brutal murder.
A firefighter allegedly killed a woman, then fought the fire.
A random scooter rider was shot during a stoplight confrontation.
A Nevada woman admitted to faking cancer for sympathy.
A mother is charged with her toddler's fatal asphyxiation.
Starting with our first story, the tragic death of 18-year-old cheerleader Anna Kepner aboard a Carnival cruise ship has taken a significant legal turn. Her 16-year-old stepbrother, identified by the initials TH, is now facing charges of murder and aggravated sexual abuse. While he was initially charged as a juvenile, federal prosecutors in Florida have successfully moved to try him as an adult. The details of the case are harrowing, alleging that during a family vacation in November 2025, the teenager sexually assaulted and strangled Anna. Her body was discovered by a cabin steward, hidden under a bed and covered with life jackets. This shift to adult court reflects the extreme gravity of the crimes, as prosecutors argue he represents a clear danger to others given the calculated nature of the assault.
The medical examiner confirmed the cause of death was mechanical asphyxiation, which supports the prosecution's claim of intentional killing. The U.S. Attorney's Office emphasized that because this occurred in international waters, it falls under federal jurisdiction. TH has pleaded not guilty to the charges, but the decision to revoke his release and move the case to adult court suggests the evidence is substantial. The community and the victim's family are grappling with the horror of a vacation turning into a crime scene involving siblings. As the case moves forward in the Southern District of Florida, the focus remains on seeking justice for Anna. The prosecution is committed to presenting a professional case that addresses the egregious nature of the violence reported in the indictment, ensuring the legal process accounts for the severity of the loss.
Now let's shift to, in the ongoing sentencing trial for the murder of 7-year-old Athena Strand, a chilling handwritten letter from former FedEx driver Tanner Horner has been revealed. Horner, who pleaded guilty to kidnapping and killing the young girl in 2022, wrote the letter from his jail cell following a suicide attempt. In the 2-page note, he apologized to Athena's family, calling her a little angel and acknowledging the terrible thing he had done. However, the letter also contained Horner's attempts to shift blame. He pointed to his Asperger's syndrome diagnosis and complained about his working conditions at FedEx. He claimed that frequent route changes caused him to have mental meltdowns and suicidal episodes, suggesting that his deteriorating mental state led to the kidnapping. This attempt to rationalize his actions has added another layer of pain for the family during the trial.
The letter was read to jurors as they consider Horner's sentence, highlighting his internal state and his perspective on the crime. While he expressed remorse for taking Athena away, he also lamented that his own son would grow up without a father. This juxtaposition of apology and self-pity has been a focal point in the courtroom. Prosecutors are using the evidence to demonstrate the impact of his choices, while the defense may use his mental health claims to argue against the harshest penalties. Athena was taken from her home in rural Texas while Horner was delivering packages, a breach of trust that shocked the nation. As the sentencing phase continues, the court is weighing these personal admissions against the brutal reality of the crime. The family's search for closure remains at the heart of the proceedings, as they face these disturbing revelations.
Next up, a terrifying incident at an Omaha Walmart ended in a police shooting after a woman allegedly kidnapped and attacked a young child. According to police, the suspect shoplifted a large knife from the store and then approached a woman with a 2- or 3-year-old boy. She forced the woman to walk ahead of her at knife point as they exited the store. Once outside, the situation escalated quickly. When officers arrived and gave commands, the suspect began swiping the knife at the child, causing a significant laceration across his face. Fearing for the boy's life, at least one officer fired, killing the suspect at the scene. Body camera footage captured the moment the woman raised the knife over the child in the shopping cart. It was a split-second decision by law enforcement to prevent further harm to the toddler.
The young boy was rushed to the hospital with injuries to his face and hand, but he is expected to survive. Authorities noted that the suspect and the victims did not know each other, making this a truly random and unprovoked attack. Witnesses mentioned that the walk out of the store appeared casual at first, which is why other shoppers didn't immediately intervene. The Omaha Police Department, along with the Nebraska State Patrol, is now investigating the shooting as per standard protocol. This event has left the local community shaken, as it occurred in a busy public space during normal shopping hours. The quick response of the officers likely saved the child's life, but the trauma of the event will certainly linger. Investigators are still working to identify the suspect and determine what could have possibly motivated such a violent and senseless act.
Moving on to, in a shocking courtroom testimony, Catherine Rastelli detailed the cold and calculated planning behind the murder of her husband, Matthew Rastelli. Catherine took the stand against her mother, Tracy Grist, who is accused of masterminding the ambush. According to Catherine, the two women meticulously prepared their home for the killing. This included removing the children's toys from the area and even covering the couch with materials to prevent blood splatter from staining the furniture. The level of premeditation described as chilling, as it suggests the family worked together to facilitate the shooting. Catherine has already testified against her brother Kevin Ellis in connection with the crime. Her testimony paints a picture of a family dynamic where a mother allegedly led her children into a plot to execute her son-in-law, showing a complete lack of regard for human life or family bonds.
The details provided in court highlight the brutal efficiency the group aimed for during the ambush. By testifying against her own mother, Catherine is exposing the internal mechanics of the murder plot, which prosecutors say was orchestrated by Grist. The defense will likely scrutinize Catherine's motivations for testifying, but the specific details about preparing the house for blood splatter are difficult to ignore. This case has captivated the public due to the involvement of multiple family members in such a violent act. Matthew Rastelli was lured into a trap in a place where he should have been safe. As the trial continues, the focus remains on Grist's role as the alleged leader of the conspiracy. The testimony serves as a grim reminder of how domestic disputes can escalate into organized violence when family members choose to collaborate on a criminal path instead of seeking help.
Now let's look at, in Ohio, a 22-year-old volunteer firefighter named Peyton Beam is facing charges for a truly disturbing crime. Prosecutors allege that Beam murdered 50-year-old Erica Kramer, a woman he had known and worked for since he was a teenager. According to the charges, Beam shot Kramer twice in the head and twice in the back before dousing her body in gasoline and setting her house on fire. In a bizarre and macabre twist, Beam then responded to the fire as a member of the Ansonia Fire Department. He was reportedly one of the first people on the scene, acting as a hero to extinguish the very flames he allegedly started to cover up his crime. Kramer was a beloved local cheerleading coach, and Beam's defense attorney noted that he even considered her a second mother, making the allegations of an execution-style killing even more difficult to process.
The community is in shock that someone trusted as a first responder could be capable of such violence against a neighbor and mentor. Beam has been charged with aggravated murder and aggravated arson, with a judge setting his bond at $5 million. During his initial court appearance, he was seen shaking his head in disagreement with the prosecution's narrative. His defense is calling for a close look at the ballistics and physical evidence, suggesting that the case currently relies heavily on inference. However, the timeline of him being at the scene, both as the alleged perpetrator and a responding firefighter, is a central piece of the investigation. As the legal process unfolds, the town of Ansonia is mourning the loss of Kramer, while trying to understand how a young man they knew could be involved in such a horrific betrayal of trust and service.
Next, we have a random and unprovoked shooting in downtown Denver has left a scooter rider with life-altering injuries and a community on edge. Anthony Davon Apodaca is accused of shooting Nico Francis in the neck while Francis was stopped at a red light. According to witnesses and the victim, Apodaca was a passenger in an SUV that was driving around looking for a confrontation. After yelling at people at a bus stop, Apodaca allegedly turned his attention to Francis, asking if he had a problem. Despite Francis's attempts to de-escalate the situation by stating he wanted no trouble, Apodaca reportedly pulled out a gun and fired. Francis described the shock of seeing the weapon pointed at his face and the immediate fear that he was going to die on the sidewalk for no reason. The shooter then fled the scene, leaving Francis bleeding and confused.
Police were able to locate the vehicle and detain the occupants, one of whom identified Apodaca as the shooter. He has since been charged with attempted first-degree murder. This incident highlights a terrifying trend of random violence, where victims are targeted without any prior interaction or motive other than a desire for conflict. Francis is lucky to be alive, but the physical and emotional toll of the shooting is immense. He expressed disbelief that someone would want to shoot a stranger just to start a fight. The Denver Police Department is emphasizing the importance of witness cooperation in bringing such cases to justice. As Apodaca faces the legal consequences of his actions, the case serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of impulsive gun violence in urban areas. The community continues to call for increased safety measures to protect residents from such senseless attacks.
Then there is a Nevada woman named Hallie Knight has pleaded guilty to a felony theft charge after admitting to a truly heartless scam. Knight faked a pancreatic cancer diagnosis for nearly a year, claiming she did it so people would feel guilty and be more inclined to love her. During this time, she defrauded well-wishers out of more than $20,000 through GoFundMe and direct cash donations. One of her victims was an actual cancer survivor, Suzanne DeRoy, who acted as Knight's chemo angel, providing gifts and money out of pure sympathy for what she thought was a shared struggle. Knight went to great lengths to maintain the deception, even taking selfies with bandages on to simulate medical treatment. When confronted, she claimed her head was messed up and that she felt like two different people, but victims are calling her a sociopath who exploited their kindness.
The impact of this scam goes beyond the financial loss. It has deeply hurt those who genuinely wanted to support a person in need. Prosecutors revealed text messages where Knight confessed to the scheme, admitting she used the money to pay her bills and buy things for her children. The betrayal felt by the cancer survivor community is particularly sharp, as Knight used their real pain to fuel her fake narrative. She is scheduled to be sentenced in June, and more victims are expected to come forward with their stories. This case serves as a cautionary tale about the potential for deception and online fundraising. While many people use platforms like GoFundMe for legitimate needs, Knight's actions have cast a shadow of doubt that may affect future donors. The legal system is now tasked with ensuring she faces accountability for the emotional and financial damage she caused.
Finally today, in Kansas, a mother named Shanna K. Witten is facing murder charges following the death of her 15-month-old son Matthew. Initially, Witten claimed the toddler had choked on a meatball, but a thorough investigation and autopsy revealed a much darker reality. The medical examiner determined that Matthew died from complications of intentionally inflicted asphyxia, meaning he was deprived of oxygen. Furthermore, investigators discovered that just a month before the boy's death, a fire had been intentionally set in his bedroom while he was inside. Witten was already in custody for arson-related offenses when the murder charges were added. The Sedgwick County Sheriff's Office emphasized that these investigations take time to ensure accuracy, especially when representing children who cannot speak for themselves. The shift from an accidental choking story to a homicide investigation has shocked the small town of Clearwater where the incident occurred.
The details of the case suggest a pattern of endangerment and violence leading up to the child's death. Witten now faces counts of felony murder, child abuse, and aggravated arson. The sheriff's comments hinted that investigators are looking into other potential incidents, using the plural term children when discussing their responsibility to seek justice. This suggests the scope of the investigation might be broader than just this single tragic loss. As the legal proceedings move forward, the focus is on the evidence that contradicted Witten's initial meatball story. The community is mourning the loss of a young life that was allegedly cut short by the person who should have been his primary protector. This case highlights the critical role of medical examiners and dedicated detectives in uncovering the truth behind suspicious deaths. Witten remains in custody as the court prepares to hear the full extent of the prosecution's case.
That wraps up our briefing for today. Thank you for joining us for these important updates. We will be back tomorrow with more stories. Have a safe day.